Thank you for joining us again and welcome back to our channel. If you are joining for the first time, we appreciate your time as always. Folks, I took a few days off to basically re-energize and come back with regards to our strategic region in the continent of Africa. A lot happening so far, as we all have seen how some geopolitical partners do not respect the sovereignty of other nations and they can intervene at any time with regards to supporting their own particular partners. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because it is important to know that the regional organization of the continent of Africa, known as ECOWAS in West Africa, it's important to know that ECOWAS got it completely wrong with regards to their recent meeting, and more importantly, the organization failed to identify, to basically look at the strategic environment and review the very important fundamentals that are needed for an organization that wants to rejuvenate and, more importantly, reorganize itself. ECOWAS did not take into account the current geopolitical environment and the present security impact and the challenges that impact trade and, more importantly, security across that part of the continent of Africa. What did I hear from that particular meeting? It was basically speeches talking about events and issues that do not translate to immediate result. Like the Nigerian president clearly said that there have been too much talk and no particular implementation. We're going to go down into perspective regards to this particular episode after looking at the reason why. This meeting is coming at a time when one of the founding members, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, have left the organization, and that particular aspect of which the countries across that region, looking at Nigeria, Ghana, and the major players who are concerned in regards to ECOWAS moving forward, were not able so far to talk very closely and bring this particular part of the continent of Africa in that particular fold. That, to me, I consider to be a fundamental mistake and a failure with regards to this particular aspect. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because the country of Sierra Leone taking this particular battle is not going to change anything. More importantly, one of the most essential elements with regards to this particular relationship was the issue of trust that was broken completely, and I never heard anything in regards to that particular meeting, considering the fact that the Ghanaian president came out clear and reminded his colleague that despite our moving forward and talking about our growth and development as an ECOWAS region, we must be able to solve this particular issue. Let's play what he said, and we will go into more perspective first.
We've discussed the issue of AES and ECOWAS, and I've got new perspectives about the concerns that the three countries have in respect of their relations with ECOWAS. And so I assured Mr. President that at the next ECOWAS meeting I would pass on what they have explained to me to the other leaders. I think there's a breakdown of trust amongst the leadership. It will take time to rebuild it, but we have to work on it so that we restore trust and confidence with each other so that we can work together, even if we are not part of the same regional body.
ECOWAS is facing a monumental challenge regards to its existence. ECOWAS needs to innovate and come out clear to face the challenges that it is facing at the moment as a regional body. A big question that I never heard regards to ECOWAS' own fundamentals, talking about the meeting that took place, considering that handing power over. The problem which I don't see in ECOWAS is about talking about funding. No organization will innovate and grow and face its challenges without funding. ECOWAS lacks its own particular funding aspect, or looking at its own funding regimes. These are important things that I think ECOWAS need to address. Of course, ECOWAS will say it raised most of its funds using the community levy, which is one of the ways that it raises its own fund. However, experts have questioned how foreign organizations support and provide funding to the organization, and for that reason, it does not allow the governments across that region, talking about those leading ECOWAS, to make some fundamental decisions and changes. It's vitally important. ECOWAS behavior was exposed during the Niger debacle, that we saw how France embarrassed itself in that region, and more importantly, Nigeria went out of board to also embarrass itself in terms of its own engagement. What ECOWAS has failed to do so far is to enable that opportunity for it to stand up when it comes to democracy, as democracy is being preached, but they fail to understand that other countries as that same particular body, like Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, face a completely different ball game, dealing with a country like France that subjugated them for many years. I think that ECOWAS must go back to the drawing board and review the particular difficulties that it faced as a regional organization. Let's play the clip.
After 2 years as ECOWAS chair, Nigerian President Bola Tinubu hands over the reins to his Sierra Leonean counterpart, Julius Maada Bio.
A round of applause, please.
Bio promises to build on the solid foundation which his predecessor laid, restoring democracy, driving economic integration, rebuilding institutional trust, and most importantly, boosting regional security.
Terrorism, political instability, illicit arms flow, and transnational organized crimes continue to test the resilience of our nations and the effectiveness of our institutions. We must overhaul our collective security architecture, from intelligence sharing to rapid response, to confront new threats with unity and resolve.
Security concerns are mounting across the region. Insurgent attacks and cross-border crimes persist, especially in northern Nigeria, and Tinubu pushed for urgent action.
This is why the ECOWAS standby force must move from the concept to operational reality now. I am a little bit worried about the slow pace of its activation, which is taking longer than desired. We must act decisively to operationalize the ECOWAS standby force on the fight against terrorism to serve as an instrument for peace and stability for our region.
This particular transformation as an organization is needed urgently, because if you look at ECOWAS' own particular security challenges that it faces, the region is facing incredible issues, considering the transfer of power from Nigeria, of which Nigeria to an extent was called under question regarding its behavior looking at the country of Niger. Nigeria cut off electricity to the country of Niger. We've played that video here over and over where an expert explained that the collaboration between the country of Nigeria and Niger was impacted as a result of Nigeria's own move. Nigeria's coziness with the country of France was called to question in regards to its own regional performance, based as one of the countries that led ECOWAS at that particular time. These are amazing times across the continent of Africa, as we all know that he will pay the piper will call the tunes, as we've always heard.
But funding remains a hurdle. The bloc needs $2.6 billion to deploy the force. Ministers have been tasked to find homegrown funding options.
We get frustrated by funding, and this is why you see many African peace support operations transitioning to United Nations, to become United Nations missions. If you look around, this is what you'll find. So our leaders have now instructed the ministers to get together and come up with a proposal that they will look at.
The single currency plan is still on track for 2027. Despite tensions with breakaway states, ECOWAS will keep trade and travel links open as talks continue. President Bio will lead the bloc at a critical time with pressure to turn pledges into progress. Kelechi Emekalam, CGTN Abuja, Nigeria.
It's important for ECOWAS to go back to the drawing board and sit and look at itself in the mirror and identify those areas where they are able to tackle head on, not just making speeches and not move the ball running. Having good resolutions is fine, but not implementing them is a big challenge. At this particular moment, the regional organization ECOWAS is not particularly focused on moving forward in terms of its innovative strategy, combating challenges across the region, and improving the security aspect, considering the trade, and as we look at the African Continental Free Trade Area. Internal bodies like ECOWAS and the rest need to play a huge role in supporting the African Union in implementing security in different areas. But what we are seeing so far, ECOWAS not being able to bring Mali, Burkina Faso back on fold to move together is a fundamental difficulties, and I still consider that to be a failure.
We move to West Africa now, and the Sierra Leonean President, Julius Maada Bio, has been elected the new chairman of the regional bloc ECOWAS. Maada Bio takes over from Nigerian President Bola Tinubu, who handed over after 2 terms. So what can be expected from the leadership of the new ECOWAS chairman, DW's Ben Adam Sherman, who covered ECOWAS' 67th ordinary session over the weekend from Nigeria, has more.
Julius Maada Bio's leadership is coming at a time when 3 founding members of ECOWAS, Niger, Burkina Faso and Mali, have exited the bloc, and all attempts to bring them back have proven futile. In his inaugural speech, Bio pledged to prioritize 4 key areas, including restoring constitutional order and deepening democracy, revitalizing regional security cooperation, unlocking economic integration, and building institutional credibility. Many are anticipating a tenure that will not only strengthen security within the regional bloc, but also ensure unity.
Let me know in the comment section what you think regards this particular move by the countries across the region. If you think that Sierra Leone, considering its role that it played a couple of months ago at the United Nations, if Sierra Leone can translate the implementation aspect with regards to its own fundamentals as a country, and more importantly, if, despite being a small nation, can pull the big boys together and move the countries across the region, considering that ECOWAS, if again this is an opportunity for ECOWAS to rejuvenate itself and take up leadership and carry out the performance that is needed. However, despite all of this conversation, the funding aspect is an area where the organization must make sure that if funding cannot be clear on where it's coming from, and more importantly, if the regional organization ECOWAS depends on its geopolitical partners for funding and some particular support in moving forward, then there's going to be a problem. As we saw events that happened recently and how ECOWAS embarrassed itself as a result of that, it relies so much on the geopolitical partners. Let me know what you think in regards to ECOWAS' own independence and why funding aspect would be the most important tool that could cripple this organization and the regional body. It becomes independent, not depend on its external partners. Otherwise, policies will be influenced in that part of the continent of Africa. I will be looking forward to meeting you soon in our next episode. Smash like button and have a good day. Bye-bye.